Now, an important piece of Canadian jewelry from the 1950s has turned up in a dusty basement south of the city. It's a silver brooch made by the famous Calgary artist Marion Nicol. Jennifer Salahub found the piece in the basement archives of the Leighton Art Centre near Millerville. She's a professor emeritus of art and craft histories at the Alberta University of the Arts and joins us now. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Lauren. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fine. I'm in Ottawa, but I am
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Well, you got the time on your side, so it's not quite as
I
early.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of pleased about that.
Okay, good. Well, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about Marion Nicol and why she's so significant.
All right. Marion Nicol is a Calgary-born artist. She was born in 1909. She was a classical abstract artist, one of the first on the prairies, in fact. She was a well-known Canadian woman artist, which makes her rather unique. She taught at what we now think of as the Alberta University of the Arts, but in 1930, when she was there, it was the Provincial Institute of Technology and Art, SAIT, and AU Arts. She has her work across Canada. It's in the National Gallery. She's known for her painting and for her prints, and nobody really knows very much about her craft, and that's where I come in.
Right. Okay. Well, let's start with the brooch. Can you describe it and what it looks like?
All right. It wasn't really a dusty room. We won't say that. It's about 2.5 inches wide, and it's about an inch, 4 centimeters high. It's about an inch deep, and it's heavy. It's silver. It has two stones in them, cabochon. But when you look closely, you realize they're not sapphires. They're not star sapphires, which you might guess. They are, in fact, glazed drips. All right. So ceramic. And this makes it totally modern. This makes it 1950s, the studio jewelry movement. So it's rather unique in that way. It tells many stories, this little brooch. And it's heavy. And it's called plateau. And it's sort of, it's landscape.
What? Okay. I'm struck by that detail that it tells many stories. What do you mean?
Well, it tells the story of the modern jewelry movement in the 1950s. It tells the story of Marion Nicol's work with craft, which nobody really knows about. It tells a story of friendship, how it got to the Leighton collection, and it tells the story of why or how craft has been dismissed. The fact that nobody knew it was there, nobody has seen it since 1958, or at least recognized it as such in their collection.
What's the craft story? What are we learning about Marion Nicol's, approach to making this?
Marion grew up in Calgary, went to the Ontario College of Art first, and then went to Alberta, came home, went to the Alberta College of Art, which was then the Tech, all right? And the teacher there was Mr. Leighton. And Leighton was a well-known artist from England, landscape, and he was teaching for the first time in 1929. And Marion was in his class, as was Barbara. Barbara Harvey was in his class. And he married Barbara within about a year, and Marion he mentored. And when she finished, she was doing student teaching, and then she went off to England. He convinced her to go to England to study, and she studied in London at the School of Arts and Crafts. What's interesting, as she became an abstract painter in the 50s and 60s, her work with craft was relatively dismissed. And as the definition of art was sort of tightened to making it flat, canvas, men's work. She was never allowed to teach painting, although she's well known as a painter. She taught craft and design, which was everyone was taking at the college at the time. And her craft work simply disappeared from sight. And this little brooch is something I've been using as a teaching model in my class at the college, because I was just horrified that this little brooch, which was made in 1950s, was chosen to be in the very first fine arts or fine craft exhibition at the National Gallery of Ottawa, and in 1957. So it was on display in Canada and went across Canada. And then it was chosen to go to Brussels, to the World's Fair, where it represented Canadian modernity at the World's Fair. And that's the last time anyone took any note of it. It hasn't been seen since.
So this brooch, is sort of imbued with art and craft and feminism and friendship, as you interpret all these things. And then it was missing. How did you find it?
Well, I'm a bit of a magpie. And I'm on the board of the Craft Council. We went on a trip to the Leighton Center, and because people know me, they sort of let me into cupboards and basement. So I was invited to go downstairs, and they were very carefully and sweetly opening drawers for me. And I saw this brooch, and I stood there and I thought, I know this brooch. It can't possibly be this brooch, but I know this brooch. And I did not leap up and down and shriek with excitement, not then. And I went home and I did more research, and then I went back this year and said, guess what? You have got a remarkable find here. And as a result, they put it on display, they've made a label for it, and it's now there for everyone to see. And what I find most fascinating is when I was telling friends, and I tell anybody that stands still about this brooch, and they say, I didn't even know it existed, much less that it was missing. And to me, this is the sort of whole history of craft. I didn't know it existed. We've got the most incredible craft in Calgary, in Alberta, and people don't really know that. So they don't know it's missing.
We almost could have started here, but this word craft is so significant as you use it to talk about the stories this brooch tells and others that were makers. Like what does that word mean to you, given all of this?
To me, craft is about the craftsmanship. It is about the quality of the medium and the skill of the artist. It can be conceptual, it can be traditional craft, but it's always got the hand and it's always got the skill set. So if you come into the Craft Council, and there is one in Edmonton and there's one in Calgary, and you'll see space, you will see incredible craft, all by Alberta artists, Indigenous, traditional, marvelous things.
Well, it's really nice to get to speak with you about all of this, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really nice to speak to you.
Yeah, have a great day.
All right, you too.
Okay.